Marcia, would you like to show us any of your favorite? Well,
that where religion is, right in that little spot.
it's in the empty brain and the full brain, the paradox of it all. Huh?
Anything you want to talk about?
Vern, let's
Okay.
talk about the physiological aspects. I know that you're a medical doctor, and also you talked.
I taught neuro. Yes, I am board certified in neurology.
That's right. So you taught, and you talk frequently of physiology. Before you get into physiology, just let me make this one comment and demonstration. I tell my students that, I think it's important when you exercise your spirituality, your religion, that you don't leave your brain outside and go in.
Yeah.
I think sometimes that seems to be the problem. On the other hand, I don't think you should be so open that your brains fall out either.
Yeah.
So I think there's a combination or this balance of saying, well, what's a reasonable way to approach the subject of religion? In our classes, we're looking at what is healthy religion, what is healthy spirituality. Is there a difference between religion and spirituality?
Well, I think that, here we're almost getting into the definition of religion, that, we can look at religion as an ethical system, but it's much more. Religion deals with spiritual things and the supernatural.
And of course, the culture
without that,
also.
I don't think you have a religion.
Yeah, and then the cultural aspects too.
Well, yeah, the cultural and social are very important. But, there are many cultural and social experiences in life. But religion, I think, has the element of spirituality and belief in the supernatural. And hence, that is really quite a different paradigm from science.
Now, do you think science and religion have some areas to share? And also, I don't want to let this question escape me, to have you address the issue of, are we wired for God? Do you think that certain people have, I talked to some individuals, and they felt this sense of spirituality when they were very young, as if, somehow they just had it within them. And you talk to other people, they've gone to church, synagogue, temple, and they just don't want anything to have to do. So I suspect the model we use is the biopsychosocial spiritual model. I suspect that there's something to do with the wiring to some degree.
I think we're absolutely hardwired to be religious. Some experiments come to my mind. If you take, this is a very famous experiment, you take a puppet of a crocodile and a little mouse, and the crocodile eats the mouse. And then you ask little kids, very, very young kids, now, does the mouse, does it eat? Mm-mm. Does it sleep? Mm-mm. Does it poop? Mm-mm. Does it miss its mommy? Oh, yeah. They attribute a whole group of abstract things to the mouse, even though they know the body's dead. And it gets into this whole notion of, in literature, that body and soul are separate. And the notion that the body is brain and the soul is something that even very small kids feel that there is something, they don't call it soul, but there is a spiritual entity that lives separate from the body, even after the body is dead.
In part, let me blame someone here. Descartes, when he makes the statement, I think, therefore I am, maybe the spiritual people would put it in the opposite way. I am, therefore I think. And what is that I amness? I guess in the Hebrew Bible, the I amness is there with Moses and asking, who are you? I am that I am. And even Jesus making the claim of the I amness. Do you think there's something
I am the
to
way,
that?
the truth, and the life. The I, yes. That's really, what is the I? I think maybe while we're alive we can define that, but see, the notion of an I, that not an I, my personal identity, existing after the brain dies, implies the idea that there's something that mind is quite separate from body, or that something, my soul, my spirit is quite separate from. And there are a number of other experiments, like a little crocodile eating a mouse, that indicate that very young kids begin to believe one thing I read, a little kid, dad says, "You got to go to sleep now." It says, "You can make me go to bed, but you can't make my mind sleep."
That's true. That's true. I mean, that mind is always going.
It's a dualism, that you can make my body do something, but there's part of me that is free, and the spirit.
Well, do you think, speaking of the body, that the body carries a kind of pain to it? Eckhart Tolle talks about the pain body. Do you think unconscious issues somehow are part of the body in some ways, and they come up symbolically through dreams and through other sorts of things, or someone reacts to a situation, they're really reacting to some unconscious material like Freud talked about, or not?
Oh, yeah, I personally believe Freud and Jung were two of the great myth makers of the last century, and that's not poo-pooing them. I think they also brought a lot of good stuff, but a lot of stuff they talked about. But I really think that I think there is an unconscious. But there again, it's back to the old idea that behind every crooked thought there's a crooked molecule. That something here is happening in the electrochemistry, this wonderful structure, that creates all of these moods. But where you get to religion is that once this is no longer an electrochemical entity, there is something that survives, which you can call the soul or the, karma, whatever. Going someplace, heaven, living in another body. That something exists after this dies. I think that's the supernatural. Religion, I think, deals with the supernatural and the spiritual.
Now, the brain. It's quite unique in many ways, but in that it can create a thought